Hello once again. I have wanted to make this video for a while, and this will definitely be my best video yet, I'm sure of that, because it's an extremely interesting video topic. And I have notes as well. I had to do a lot of research for this. So, oh, and because I'm not recording at late hours, unless this goes on for like over 2 hours, I won't need to, like half whisper. So that's good. So, when you think of speedrunning, when you think of a speed game and speed games as they go on, more people join the community, more people find things, generally in an area where there was nothing originally being done in a level, for example, or just an area of a level. A lot of strats go from, well, you not doing really anything notable to you doing a strat. So even if the strat isn't very difficult, it just automatically adds difficulty. Most strats add difficulty. But what about when they don't? Because that does happen, and that is what we're going to look at today for Battle and Movie, primarily Battle. So, what I've done, I will have a video showing an old strat, and then either what it got replaced with and still is today, or just at least got replaced with at some point in time, And there's a lot. Now, the Cole era, I didn't get any videos from Cole, because that was when the game was, like, new as a speed game. That's when both Battle and Movie were new, not explored much, just Cole and probably, like, 2 or 3 other people. 2016 is when a lot of stuff really started to get found for Battle and Movie, and the games really started to form an actual community. And that is from my time. Like, I joined the community in, like, August 2016, I believe. So I feel like it's an appropriate time to start from there on out. Otherwise, we'd be looking at a bunch of horrible setups, a bunch of one frames and stuff. So yeah. And we're gonna start with Battle because there's a lot more for Battle, and Battle just has a lot more going on because it's developed a lot more, it's more open, so there's more substitute spatulas that you can do, or, spatulas that weren't in the route that are in the route now, and that, or you can do a spatula early that you couldn't do before, so it'll let you do a thing in late game, and that thing is easier or harder than before. It changes a lot of things, so that's why there's more things with Battle the Movie. There are probably a couple things I forgot about, but they're probably not notable if I forgot about them. I really thought long and hard. And I have notes about some things that I feel like are notable. So, first of all, with Battle, hard drive makes mistakes less costly and you're putting more hours into actual overall gameplay. In, God, when was it, 2020 or 2021? The Battle community decided to allow hard drive for original Xbox. And that makes the loads, very less, just more consistent, they take longer to die compared to disk drives. You don't need to buy the actual disc then, stuff like that. And it's just good to mod your Xbox anyway, it has its own bunch of benefits. So there are a lot of tricks in Battle where if you miss them, you will just reload, and so this automatically, particularly the mistakes in Dream, practically all of them, all the big ones, force a reload. Dream's loads were fast anyway, but now they're even faster. And that just, again, just goes for a lot of, like, little things. Sometimes you can even load to a location because it's now faster than walking, which technically, in the tiniest form imaginable, removes skill in some tiny form. Also, You could have just practiced on hard drive anyway, but now even more people are incentivized to practice on hard drive, which makes the practice more efficient. And you now, even just like hammer skip, that's like the first like actual trick in the run. You now can get there like 15 seconds-ish faster than on disc now, which is That adds up. After like a 3-hour grind session where you just can't get out of JF, that adds up. That adds up a lot. So that is very notable. Second thing, SBA allowing for significantly more routing options and removing a ton of spatulas. So there is a trick in the game called Ski Ball Abuse, and you throw a couple, well, you can throw 1 or 2 tikis into the 30 hole, and then have SpongeBob ball it, and then the ball will get stuck, and then it'll just keep generating 30 over and over and over again every frame. And it's, it's pretty... You get shinies insanely quick. So, originally, in the no SBA route, back when it was any %, we were getting 1 crab spatula, and you still had to, you know... It was pretty... Obviously, it was a very fast spatula, but you still had to, like, ball a stack here, ball a stack there. You know, hit tikis here, hit tikis there. Just, like, on the way. You know, that type of thing. But yeah. Now you just get those shinies for free, and you get an additional 7 of them. There's also crabs duping. But, to be fair, those are a little difficult. There's 2 of them. The second one in particular, I think, if you fuck it up in a specific way, I think you crash. But yeah, like, at least, for even the ones you don't dupe, so that's an additional 7. That adds, you know, and you trade the spatulas in, like, mid-game, so you can... That gives you so many routing options. You know, beginners love SBA because it isn't that hard to comprehend or set up if you just set it up slowly, you know, to get. It's not that hard to get, but now you can just, you know, you can just fucking not do a bunch of stuff that you had to do before. Like, Sea Needle, that got routed out in, no SBA anyway, but that was done in most people's routes. Now, if it did have SBA, I mean, obviously if it did, then it'd be any %, but yeah, now Sea Needle has never been considered, pretty much. And it lets you do a lot of things in late game. Like, a lot of the Dream Spatulas could just be grabbed with a Cruise Boost, which makes them a lot easier and faster, too. You know, again, just more routing options, and it just skips... Even some of the gameplay it's skipping that isn't hard, really, it's still... As long as you're doing 2 Tiki SBA, I feel like at that point it's easier. You know, and saves quite a bit, too. Alright, so... The next thing is CCA allowing routing options. CCA, let's say you have 5 wheels in downtown out of 11, and then you warp to downtown, and then you warp to campers, which you need 5 campers. If you press L at the right time during the load, Mrs. Puff will... The counter for campers will quickly increase to 5, and then Mrs. Puff will think that you got all the campers and they give you the spatula. That allowed for, obviously, to just route out another spatula. Additionally, you can do it with artwork in Rock Bottom, which means that you don't need to grab the artwork, which doesn't even actually save that much in the grand scheme of things. But what it allows you to do with a very little time cost is Rock Bottom early. And Rock Bottom early gives you 2 spatulas, and they only lose 6 seconds to do a mid-game. And, again, that lets you do things like Dream Late and things like that. Again, it's just more routing options. When I say right time, by the way, unbuffered it's a 1 frame, but I think buffered it's like, I don't know, like 4 frame or something, I don't know. There's like some visual cue with like when the bubbles freeze or something, I don't know. Anyway, practice mods. There are a couple practice, like, there's a really good practice mod I've used. It's called Auto CB. They're not perfect, you know, it's gonna get better as it goes on, but there's save stating, fly, like, remove shinies from yourself, give yourself shinies, moon jump, like, yeah, like, respawn spatulas, so it feels more like properly like a run setting. I think you could do the same with socks, too. It tells you how early or late your cruise boost inputs were. And you can press RNA for a quick boot, so you don't even have to, like, rely on hard drive loads anymore. You can just hold RNA and then it just fucking reloads the thing. Sometimes it's not desirable, but sometimes it is. It's just, like, crazy efficient, you know what I mean? So yeah, that's everything. This might be a big video, I think. I mean, we're already 10 minutes in. I just saw the timer hit 10 minutes, bro. Okay, so let's get into it. Immediately, we have one frame dilemma skip. So this only saves like 2 or 3 seconds or something. So everybody knows dilemma skip, right? I mean, you hit the thing, you bash, you slam, you make it over to the other side, but it saves a couple seconds to do it as a one frame, angled more towards Patrick, so watch this now. And it's like, okay, it's a one frame, you know, it's not the end of the world, you can get that 100% of the time in theory. You know, and you just had one frame practice because you just did hammer skip. Yeah, that's true. But, right? Also, side note, hammer skip was done in a couple runs back in, like, 2013, and then was forgotten about until 2016. So, if, you know, technically I could say, like, oh, well, you know, old battle runs in JF were harder because they were compared to, like, 2016. But because people, even a lot of beginners do hammer skip now. I don't know why, but I mean, hey, I mean, they can, you know, you do you, I suppose. Anyway, so, also, hammer skip has also technically gotten easier. When it was first implemented, Squid's house sock was done when it used to be an 8-second sock. Now there's, like, first of all, Squid's house is now like a 4-second sock, and second, there's more socks that you can grab, especially because of, again, more routing options and stuff like that. So hammer skip effectively is easier in the sense that it saves more time, which means you can technically fuck it up more and still save as much as it used to. Anyway, and you don't need a one frame to do it anyway, so I guess that's why beginners do it. I still feel like it's kind of a bitch to do, like manipulating the hammer, but anyway. God, is this gonna be tangent to the video? It might be. The problem with this is that you have to dedicate yourself to it. Look, you're at the point of no return. There's no way you can make it otherwise. You need the one frame. Right? And again, it's only saving like 2 to 3 seconds, I believe, right? And you know, a one frame that far in, not the end of the world, right? But that got obsoleted in, I think, 2017 by Pat's Hammer. Pat's Hammer saves like 6 seconds. And it's still a bitch. Dude, every, like, first run I get there, I always miss Pat's Hammer. It's more of a precision thing, but there's no one frame, and it saves quite a bit more. It's also all or nothing, but it's in my opinion, easier than doing a one frame. So, around this point with the flower, you turn the camera. There's a little bit of wiggle room. And then at the point of the grass, you start, like, doing, like, a full A, you know, dynamic jumping, like, full A jump. And then you time it right, so you kind of slide a little bit against the hammer bar, and then do another full jump. And if you did it right, you'll slide across, you have like a 5-ish or 6-frame window to bash, and then you make it to Patrick. You can recover it with like a 1-frame bash if you fuck it up, but that's rare because you'll probably have bad speed or bad angle or whatever. But yeah, I would consider this easier, even if it's still a little bit of a bitch. Especially because it has more leniency. And while it is more all or nothing, I mean, as all or nothing, it saves more time. So, yeah. Next up is Tower Sock 1-frame. I'm not going to show a video of, you know, not doing it because, you know, you just don't do it. It's not a substitute strategy, just don't do it. So, you get a 1-frame here. Missing, I mean, yeah, he missed it there, but, also all the videos I'm using for battle are from Shift, except for 2 clips from me, by the way. Just wanted to point that out. And then most of the movie videos will be from me. So, again, just a 1-frame input, you can try it, like, infinite number of times with this, so it's automatically easier than Dilemma, but it is later in the run. And then it also sets you up well to just immediately go for Sponge Glide. Like, it sets you up well. But, that being said, this is a 3-second sock, and ever since 2018, the high-level runners, this slower socks are like 4 to 5 seconds, so I never did this because, you know, my slowest sock is probably like 4.5 seconds. I really don't want to do a 1-frame for this. You know, if I got a second try, I'd probably, like, break even. Like, I don't want that, you know? So yeah, the alternate strat is just not doing it. Next up is early towers. So you do sponge glide, you make it over, and then you have to like update your position. The way that like goo works, and you know, in movie like chocolate and lava and stuff, how it all works, whether or not it knows to drown you or how much knockback to give you or where it tries to knock you back to, depends on your positioning and where you recently stood and things like that. I don't really fully understand it, to be honest, because I don't need to know it, like, the exact ins and outs, but this is more feel-based than normal. So, again, you gotta, like, set your position, and then you gotta, like, jump in pretty specific ways, and then you'll slide across this, and you'll make it over to this island, where you can then destroy this hammer bar, and then you have to do another weird, like, again, position slide thing, get another bash thing, and then you finish up sponge glide. So that was early towers. So normally you would get that after, like, Kids or after Moat in Gulagoon 2, back in the day. And then you would just, it was really easy, you just cruise bubble the hammer bar, and then that was kind of the end of it. If memory serves, granted old as hell memory, but if old memory serves, this saves 3 seconds, I believe, but it moves a spatula from late game to early game, which means that you can move a spatula from early or mid game to late game. And I think at this point, Fastnut was decided, and that's a pretty hard strat. We know today that you could literally just do Lodge Late, and that is relatively easy, and is infinitely easier than Fastnut, and saves almost as much. My name's Jeff. Anyway, but yeah, individually for 3 seconds, clearly not fucking worth it, but yeah. It allows you to move something later. Whether it makes the run easier or harder, you can move something later in the run, so... yeah, that's early towers. Not really worth it for a lot of people, as you can imagine. However, this is the current strat. Also, with the old strat, by the way, did not work on PAL. Like, okay, it works, but it's, like, unbelievably hard and has no consistency to it whatsoever. It could take 100 tries, it could take 2 tries. We don't really know why. It's something to do with, like... I don't know, frame rate? I don't know. Because I believe if you do PAL 60, I'm pretty sure it still has the problem. I don't know, it's hard to remember, but I don't know. It's just fucked. Basically, it's fucked. But this one, you get mixed thoughts, but it's inarguably, for PAL players, infinitely easier than the old Sponge Glide. Whether it's still the same difficulty for PAL and NTSC is hard to figure out, but it's on that front, it's significantly easier. Because before, you either had to go for Sponge Glide, go for something called PAL Glide, which was also horrible, but at least had a tiny bit of consistency, or do, like an old Gulagoon Forwards route that, honestly, compared to NTSC Sponge Glide, is quite a lot harder, because you have to do a trickle Pier Boost as hard as fuck. And it lost a shit ton of time. I love PAL Battle, it's so epic. That's another thing. PAL players modding their Xbox, literally, they can just put an NTSC ROM, or like whatever you want to call it, on the hard drive, and then problem solved, so that's pretty good too. The PAL version is slower, has slower loads, Duplicatortrons take longer to explode for some reason, SBA is slower because it can generate less shinies per frame. Yeah, things like that. So this is the new one. People have a lot of different setups, but you position yourself, like, to the right of the circle, and then you line up, like, a button with the boxes in the background. Again, you can do a lot of stuff. Now, I think this part is harder. The timing of this is so fucking stupid and makes no logical sense. Transitioning from Sponge Glide to Early Tower Glide is so bad, dude. It's so goddamn bad. Because the jump space, it makes no sense. It makes no fucking sense. Look at this shit. Imagine full dynamic jump spacing, and then look at this. Like, dude, like, what the fuck was that? But anyway, and then you have to delay your jump out of this a lot, and then you need to very quickly slam shortly after colliding with this. It's so, like, the old Sponge Glide is so much more robotic and logical. Like, full jump spaces, you know, good spacing with a spin. you know, jumping out of the damage animation, like, at a good time and letting yourself collide with, like, this button for, like, a good amount of time. This is so different, and I hate it so goddamn much. I think it's, like, because here's the thing, right? It's, like, I feel like for beginners, it's probably easier to do it like this. Like, beginners are gonna fuck things up, whether they realize it or not, so I feel like this is tailor-made for them, almost, like, coincidentally, like, they probably wouldn't have good jump spacing anyway. That's probably actually how they would jump space, is how you do early tower glide. So I feel like that's probably why beginners don't have an issue with it. Some of them don't. To be honest, like, I feel like it's like some weird thing like that. But anyway, now you make your ass over, and then you land on this. And then you just destroy the tower bot. You can either do a ball extended jump, or you can just do the old thing. So, yeah, that's something. Also, because of being able to do SBA as Patrick, I mean, because of SBA's existence, you can now skip the second glides and just do this as Patrick, and it saves like an additional second or two. Now that glide, the second glide, was not hard by any stretch of the imagination, but it's still harder than this. You get to do this because, again, Patrick, use Patrick, and you do Gulagoon after Poseidon, so I think that's another reason why you are able to do, because then you already have access to Ball, and you don't have to, like, reload the Gulagoon or anything like that to do SBA. So, yeah, that's... Oh, yeah, I think this is called Early Tower Glide. I think this saves an additional, like, 4 to 5 seconds compared to Early Towers. And I think it's easier. It's much easier for PAL players. If you can get the timing down on the thing, again, it's just skipping that whole, like, bash slide thing, and it saves more. And, like, you know, at that point, like, I'd say this is probably overall easier relative to the time save. If saved the exact same amount, then I would probably call the old one slightly easier, but I feel like this one's easier because of how much time it saves. Anyway, now we can move on to, Fast Buck. So, the old strat for this was, like, pretty easy, but then, this one frame was added. I don't remember how much it saves. I think it's, like, 5 to 7 seconds. So, there's a tiny bit of difficulty with just timing that. It's not, you know, that's not really the hard part, but it technically adds a bit of difficulty. But yeah, it's just another one frame, and obviously, if you miss it, there's no backup, you just reload or reset. So, yeah, it's just another one frame, all or nothing again. You even need to stand a good distance away from the Thunder Tiki, and, you know... Technically, it's easier than something like Hammer Skip, because Hammer Skip also has robot manips and shit. You gotta keep... But it's still, like, this is so late in the run that it's just, like, bruh. But now it's gone. Because of something called, Roll Buck. Now, I'm not... I think this... Theoretically... I think this saves less than Fast Buck, but saves more than the old strat. But the reason why this has replaced it is because of, like... You get here early now because of, again, a lot of routing stuff and other discoveries, like a crab's dupe. But the other thing is vertical momentum storage, and they use that to get to shoals early, which it just lets them skip hub 1 and just, like, do spatulas early game that weren't really much faster in mid game or whatever. So they, again, it just makes the early game a lot faster. But yeah, and this is still a little tricky, but I feel like it's still easier than a one frame. And the reason why you can't do fast buck is because you don't have ball, by the way. So you can't even, like, go for it. And they skip it now entirely. Actually, so this does save time. Originally, you'd bowl, the thingy once, and it'd spawn a cutscene, and then you'd bowl it a second time to grab the shoal spatula later in the run. But now you don't even bowl the button a single time. So this, because that one time where you would have bowled the button, now you just do VMS to shoals, and this lets you also... So yeah, this does effectively save time. So you have like a big chunk of time before transforming into this is called sponge ball storage. You just keep jumping, and the window's not hard. This is a slightly tricky. You really gotta get a feel for it. It's not that hard, really, but, like, it's easy to chug, I suppose. But yeah, you just, like, start building up speed, you know, robot, like, again, it's very feel-based, but there's no way you can't call this easy, harder than fucking, Fast Buck. Yeah. So, that's pretty much it for that. Alright, now, there's no alternative that I'm going to show you to this because it's very easy to imagine, like, what the alternate strat is. This is the old way of doing spinning towers of power. We would use, we would slam that one because it was close, but then we would, like, throw the melon. As a matter of fact, I probably should have used a different video. Because we used to throw the melon in a very weird specific order that I would always forget, and then we started doing it clockwise, and I forgot about that. I should have shown that video instead. But yeah, you just throw it around, and if you are too slow, you won't be able to... Oh, that's another reason why you slammed the first button, was so that you'd have time to... So, the melon breaks... So, if your movement's bad, the melon will break, and you lose more time. The now faster strat, you know, you might think, oh, well, that still seems easy. What's easier than that, bro? You know, this, imagine that for every single button, that is faster. Like, I'm not joking, that is literally faster. Like, bro, it is literally faster to do that. By only, like, a second or two, but it's objectively easier and it's faster. The only thing is that Patrick can slide off of the buttons without slamming them, but that's why you slam the top of the buttons, and then you're pretty much always fine. So, yeah, that's something. Alright, next up. And this is me. Crazy. This is my first cameo for battle. Bad Robopat Manips plus old Phase 3 enter, so... Oh wait, why am I in Phase 2, then? That is literally stupid. Okay, so... entering Phase 3, you know, you just skip the cutscene, start Phase 3. Now, this video isn't a great example, but yeah, you just have Robopat hit you, and one thing that I started doing post this PB... I started, like, jumping right up to him, right up to his face but that is a tiny bit risky. Not really, but it's, like, a teeny bit risky. We also had bad manips. Robopat was, like, almost, like, pseudo-luck in the sense of, like... It just seemed like the manips that we needed was so ridiculously precise that it just, you know... I'm doing, I believe, what were modern Robopat manips at the time, so you just, like, bash the... I got pretty bad manips in this run, I remember, but I'm not sure, like, if they were all... No, that one was really good. So second manip was over here, and then he landed over there, and I wasn't expecting that. And then my third manip was by here, and he landed in a okay-ish spot. I don't know how good the manips are now. I don't know if they just work, like, nearly every time or whatever, but I do know that they're better than before. And that's not the only thing I'm gonna show. Now, here's what they do, right? They wait. They wait until Robopat has fallen into the goo. And now you have skipped his spinning phase, and that saves a couple seconds, and even though it was already easy, so you purposely got hit because that was originally faster than letting him do the entire attack anyway. It was originally faster anyway. But, like, this is even faster, and it's even easier. And, yeah, so the, first manip... Yeah, somewhere around there... I think there's still a bit of randomness with how long he spins for, how fast he spins. But, yeah. Now this may look similar to what I did, but he's not, like, you know, standing in slightly different spots and not bashing afterwards, and, you know. So, where does Robofat... Oh, well, he predicted he was gonna land, so they must also have knowledge of maybe being able to tell where he's gonna land in the last couple seconds or something, because I don't think we had that knowledge before. I would also imagine that if Robopat's on this side, then you'd want to bash on. Then you'd want to be on these conveyor belts. If he's on that side, I would imagine it's. We had that idea before. I'm not sure if that's still a thing, but it looks like it might be. Anyway, let's see how it was. Yeah, no, they. Wow. Missed a ball and still got a 1. Dude, my gold is a 121, and I've only gone close to it a few times. These manips are probably like mega OP then, unless. I don't know. Better luck. I don't know. Oh, well, actually, to be fair, part of my thingy would be, like, having to, go through his attacking phases. So, to be fair, at a few seconds, his gold is probably, like, a tiny bit faster than my gold, but still, those manips were, like, really, and he predicted 2 of them, so they must be easier than before, I'm sure. Alright, the next one is Sponge Museum, and this one's gonna take a while. So, originally you do this shit with Sandy, but you could do it with... Then... Okay, so... For the goal was 59 at the time, so a route was implemented called Route Z, and it had Hammer Skip, and then the sock that you'd use is Squid House Sock to get to make back the sock, and you do Sponge Museum. I don't think there were any other differences at the time. And I don't know how much they collectively saved, but this saves 6 seconds and is quite hard. So it saves 6 seconds over Sandy Museum because it skips 1 cycle. So, watch now. You can miss a cruise boost. I think you can, yeah, I think you can only miss 1, and then you gotta bash up here. You gotta work your way around, and then you gotta do this, and then... You would wait a tiny bit, but because you missed a cruise boost, yeah, you don't do that. And then that was the fastest cycle. Now he's just gonna match, like, the equivalent cycle for this. And this is actually hard. This is actually, like, legitimately hard. If you miss, like, 1 cruise boost, I think you can, like... I think you can only just barely make it with, like, really good movement. So you pretty much need a first try cruise boost, or, you know, recover really well. And then, it's just pretty basic after that. And, didn't get the sock, I guess, that's strange. I didn't realize I didn't grab the sock. How much did this save then? Because that sock is only like 5 seconds or 4 seconds. I don't know. Anyway, that is not the hardest museum that we're looking at. So you might say, why did I include it? But we're getting to that. So that Sponge Museum saves 6 seconds, and again, missing a cruise boost will most likely have you just breaking even. It was unlikely if you were good at the game. It was unlikely to lose time compared to the Sandy Museum, but still, like, you know. And then this is RCB Museum. I think... Yeah, okay. So, missed the cruise boost, but you're able to with this. This has even more leniency than the original one. I really do think it's easier. And this saves even more. So... basically, you... And, okay, so... You just, yeah, so you can get damage on these lasers. It's easier than it looks. Like, they kind of have, like, a weird, like, slant. It's not the easiest thing in the world, but it really is not, like, very bad, honestly. And now you saved another cycle, but now you gotta clutch it out, and you gotta do RCB Museum. An RCB is a bit different from a cruise boost. The inputs are similar, but with a different camera angle, and you have to, like, hold... down L, but not for like too long. I don't know. It's like hard to explain. And then so you have to get a first try. There's no other way around it. You have to get a first try, and even then the movement still needs to be really good. Watch this. Only barely made it. So you need really good movement and to get the RCB first try. And if you missed it, then you could just wait for the tire cycle, but then it saves the same amount as the old Sponge Museum. And this is infinitely harder than the other Sponge Museum. But now we get to the one that was around when I ran the game last. So the beginning is the exact same, nothing's changed there. But now, as you can see, no RCB. You could do an RCB, but you don't need to. And instead, you can do this. And that is way easier. I would call that easier than the original Sponge Museum. And you know what the funny thing is about this too, right? This is faster. You get to grab the sock with a cruise boost, which makes it even faster. So, like, now the sock is back in, I guess, and it's even faster than before. I think this is roughly the same cycle as before, but because of the sock is like, I think RCB Museum saved like 12 seconds, and this saves like 14-ish, I think. So it's way easier. You could argue about it being easier than Sponge Museum, than the old one, but with this one, you can miss a million cruise boosts and it doesn't matter. And it saves a lot more, so at the very least, relative to the time save, it absolutely is easier than the old Sponge Museum, than the original one. But even if you wanted to argue that it is, like, harder, again, relative to the time save, this is definitely worth it, and you get the suck. So, yeah, that's pretty much it. Well, that's not it. We have one more to look at, because, I don't know if this one's harder, so I just wanted to show it, because this is past my time. So again, the beginning is the same again. It's actually a teeny tiny bit easier. Because of this point in the run, they no longer need shinies. You can just skip these. I don't know why he grabbed them. I don't think he needs them. I don't know, maybe it's habit or something. Anyway, which means you could potentially miss a cruise boost and even have a slightly bad movement and still make the same cycle. Maybe even miss another cruise boost and still make it, barely, things like that. Making it a teeny tiny bit easier, technically. And now they get like a weird, like, they just damage boost out, and because they get like a slide, you can like, it's kind of similar to like Pat's Hammer, but this looks easier at least. I don't know if it is, but it looks easier. And then you get a big damage, you get a big damage boost, and then you don't have to do an RCB here, but you might as well. You have a really good angle for it, and then also there's also a spin strat, where if you spin shortly before going off a ledge, you get like a lot of coyote frames. You already get coyote frames anyway, but now you get even more, which makes this batch even easier than it already was. And now, I believe he's using invincibility frames from ending the spatula animation to then jump up this and then grab the sock even faster than before. And they don't grab artwork anymore because of CCA. So, part of it is because of art, but as you can see, like, the gold is a 34.58, and the old one was, like, 48 point something. I don't know, part of it is because of artwork, but, like, this is even faster and legitimately does not look harder to me. It might be, like, a teeny bit harder, but if it saves that much, then Jesus Christ, it's absolutely fucking worth it. Absolutely. So, now we're finally done with Museum. Oh yeah, now here's Sleepy Skip. I don't remember how much this one saves, but if I had to guess, maybe like... Okay, well, actually, we'll get to it. So like I said earlier, Sleepy Skip has gotten easier from being able to do it mid-game instead of late game. And one issue the Sleepy Skip caused was, like, shiny issues originally, but now you don't even need the shiny, so it's like, bruh. And also, at the end of Sleepy Skip, you had to do kind of a cringe cruise boost afterwards. Like, it was a pretty cringe cruise boost, honestly, but now you just don't even go there at all. It wasn't hard by today's standards or anything, but, like, you had to cruise... You had to, like... If you can see my cursor, you had to stand here. There was, like, an invisible, like, floor, and you had to, like, cruise boost off of this. Grab the sock, like, climb up it. Like, now you just don't even bother with that whatsoever. Anyway, yeah, this is the strat. So, it's a one frame again, and it's this late in. And missing it, second try, I think it doesn't lose much, but still, like, And again, like, the movement afterwards was harder, too. But yeah, you just, do that. And what do you do now? you do this. And I believe this either breaks even or maybe loses like a second or something. Maybe, potentially, but like literally nobody does the one frame anymore. Watch this. Okay, well, I don't know why he did that, but yeah, watch this. I think it was to... I think, like, when it comes to damage boost, I think, like, one of the animations is, like, sometimes cringe or something, so maybe that was why, to get rid of the damage thing. Anyway, yeah, that's what you do. Oh my god, die. Die, 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 die. There we go. I'm going to shoot myself. I'm gonna fucking shoot myself. It's gonna happen. There we go. Yeah, so you have to stand pretty close to the edge of that. I don't want to rewind it again in case it plays another ad. But yeah, you go on the edge and you get like slide frames. It's a little difficult, but it, you know, for the time save, it's pretty worth it, and because it lets you do rock bottom mid game, like it's just pretty fast. Well, you don't have to do this in mid game, but like, why wouldn't you? It's like saves the exact same amount of time in mid game as in late game, so yeah. But compared to the old route, this saves like 12 seconds or something compared to not doing this at all, and now it would save even more because of CCA and stuff, and not having to grab artwork. And for being able to do it earlier than before. So, yeah. Alright, now here's a big one. I actually learned this. Dude, I'm pissed off, right? I didn't want to learn this trick, but it would save quite a bit, right? So I watched Average Trey's Sunshine World Record Progression video. I had already seen it a couple times at that point, but I was like, wow, dude. All these runners putting thousands of attempts into Sunshine. Like, you know, even though it has loads of RNG, like, you have to watch those cutscenes. And, you know, they're still grinding the hell out of the game, even if it's really hard. Like, I'm inspired, dude. I'm gonna fucking grind Ballroom Clip. And I did grind Ballroom Clip. And then I went to sleep, woke up, and a much easier and faster method got found. I'm going to die. Anyway, God, I haven't even seen this in a long time. Okay, so you come here in late, you know, you already get the warp in mid-game, so you come back in late game, and then you have to, like, turn that, and then turn it back again. It wasn't very hard, but the position could be slightly off and fuck with you. And now you gotta, like, guide the ball. You gotta like guide it into also this replaced Drain the Lake, which wasn't hard, but it had like some RNG. Anyway, so now you have the ball, and then you're inside, and you have to slowly, carefully guide it. You have to guide it, and if you're too antsy, then fuck you. And then you get a slow cruise boost, I think, and you like kind of angle yourself in between, I think, crabs and the ball. And then when the ball is, like, swinging in a... Yeah. When it's swinging back to the left, and it's, like, about to, like, clip you out, almost, of it, then you press L. And then if you time it right, you'll clip through. It's so feel-based and cringe, and didn't even save that much, and, like, bruh... I mean, it saved quite a bit. I think it was like 25, 30 seconds. It saved enough to where, like, you really felt the need to do it at a higher level. Dude, this shit fucking sucks so bad. And look at this. Look at this and tell me you wouldn't be pissed off if you learned the other one, and then if, like, literally, like, 3-4 hours later this one gets found. Yep. Yep, you can just do that. Now, it is a teeny bit harder than it looks. You know, you gotta set up the right angle, you gotta, like, set up a good angle, get yourself in there, and then you have to, like, kind of flick the stick. I think there's a few directions that work, but I kind of do, like, a down right angle, like a pretty hard, like, a flick, and then you need to press L and B on the same frame, and you need to have a specific type of camera angle and stuff in position, because it's possible to just, like, not clip through, and even get a ball, like, even, I guess, send flying away from, this, case. Because of, like, angle stuff, like the way the cruise boost stuff, or, like, you know, the way that, like, some physics stuff in this game works is, like, camera angle dependent, or just angle of SpongeBob. So, you literally just, like... So again, there is more to it than it looks, but dude, look at his gold. It's a fucking it's really fast. Like, this saves so much more. Like, it saves so much more. It's so offensive how much it saves, dude. I can't believe I had to learn the old one. Also, I will say this trick is a bit AIDS on PAL. It just, like, practically instantly pushes you out, so you have, like, no time to fucking set up ballroom clip. But it's still probably easier than the old one. And it saves more, and you could fail it a ton of times before breaking even with the old one. This one's just better in basically every way. You do need a cruise boost for it. I mean, not a cruise, but you need cruise bubble for it, by the way. Alright, and now we get to my final battle cameo, and we are getting to, very close to the end of the battle one. So yeah, this video really won't be that long. So, Gulagoon 2 Castle Shinies. I don't have an alternate thing for this, and I fucked this up in my run. But I still wanted to give myself the cameo, so... Sandy Nut removed a bunch of shinies, and it was just getting to the point where we just didn't have enough shinies. So we started getting, the sock at the top of this castle late. Because we could get the shinies in early game and late game. Because you get a shit ton of shinies, and then just grab the sock alongside it, so, you know... So this is only like a 2-second stack or something. The problem is that the jump is so AIDS, dude. You need, like, good jump spacing, right? Jump close to, like, off the edge, close to the edge. And then, like, have really good jump spacing and, like, dynamic jumping and all that shit. And if your cruise boost is slightly slow, it either makes it impossible or significantly harder. I think this cruise boost might have been slightly slow, but I stood at a bad angle. But yeah, as you can see, I barely missed it. And that just makes the stack, like, stupid slow. And then that happened, and, you know, but yeah, that's not really part of the equation. You can see what I was trying to do. And then in the end, what you get is a sock and a fuck ton of shinies, but yeah. Yeah, so the alternate strat is just go on the other side of the castle. It's very easy. Alright, here's Drain a Lake. So... what I'm specifically going to be showing with this is old Drain the Lake RNG theory. We had a theory back in the day that you wanted to throw hammer bots at specific fountains in a specific order, not whichever one you were closest to, a specific order. Why? I don't fucking know, but that's what we thought. So watch this now. Like, yeah, that one was done there, but watch this, right? Oh, wait, what? Hold on, making me look like a fool now. Did I pick up the wrong video? Did I get the wrong video? Okay, here we go, look. He was clearly much closer to the other one, but then he goes here. It's just what we thought back then. That was very clearly, like, objectively not fast. Like, yeah. And then it would have been faster to go to the other one, but then, you know. I mean, it would... See, look, like, that RNG, like, again, it's just... yeah, there was just no need for it, you know? Oh yeah, Ballroom Clip also got rid of some shinies because we couldn't do Drain a Lake anymore, but that's not like a big thing. And then also, Drain a Lake also added a cruise boost, because then afterwards you'd warp to Drain a Lake and then get another cruise, and that's not a huge deal or anything, but obviously that's worth noting at least. So, here is a Sandy Nut. Not Sandy Nut. Here is a Nut Glide. So, you get a crew boo. So, this was in late game. You do this in late game. So, you crew boo off Larry. And then you would just fucking slam into this. And it was basically a 50-50 whether or not it worked. So, 50% chance for your run. Especially if you were on, you know, high on a run. 50% chance a run dies here, essentially. But after that, it's free as fuck. You literally just grab these shinies and just glide on over. You do lose a lot of time if the cruise boost is slow, but it's not the end of the world. And yeah, you just glide over. Yeah, again, 50-50 mega AIDS, right? This was back in the day. It got me, so we finally figured out, like, what made this actually 100% consistent. This thing moves up and down, and I think when SpongeBob starts gliding, I think you want this thing to be moving upward, so you can time it. It's still, you know, you might choke or whatever, but most of the time now, fully consistent. Because then you'll know, like, how to time it, you know, you get used to it very quickly on, like, the timing. But it doesn't matter, because very shortly after, right, we got Sandy Nut. And this can be done in early or mid-game, and it removes shinies, but it is faster. I don't know how much faster, but it's faster. Which also lets you move another spatula to late game. But again, it did cause that Gula... So, for me, this actually lost time in the sense of, like... Because I fucked up the Goo Lagoon thing. Also, I guess this was my last cameo, so my bad for fucking that up. But you just glide on over... Now, I will say that this is fucking evil, and it's bullshit as fuck. But you jump a lot, like, there's like a dark purple patch, like, just barely to the left of that, and a little onwards. You can just bash Sandy's head into the acorn, and it's like, the checkpoint is like around there. But lots of people have lost a ton of runs to this shit. Like, it's so bad, dude. Shit's fucking AIDS as fuck. But yeah, then you just die in here. It saves even more these days, because now they grab 4 health instead of 5. We used to grab 5, now they grab 4, so now it saves even more. And again, they do it, like, even earlier now, too. There is Fast Nut, but, you know, that existed... Okay, so technically Fast Nut existed, I think, just before this, maybe... It's another one frame. It's a 1-frame bash, not a damage boost. It's like a spin 1-frame thing on the slide. It's quite hard. Also very all or nothing. Yeah. And we're on to the last thing. Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure Dutchman Skip is not even fast anymore, so that routes out Dutchman Skip. It wasn't too hard anyway, but yeah. Wait, hold on. Okay, yeah. Anyway. Then you do Goo Cage Clip, and for a time, this was easily, like, the hardest strat in the game, no questions asked. So, this is very hard to explain, but you have to, like, really get a feel for this bowl. You gotta bowl it, like, right angle. You gotta get a feel for how long you should be doing it for. And then you go forward, and then... Yeah, so... Again, super feel-based. Words cannot describe how fucking feel-based and, you know, you're never gonna get this 100% of the time. I think I did, you know, I put quite a few hours into this back in the day, maybe like 5+ hours, and I don't think I ever got it more than like twice in a row. But anyway, if there is a good amount of distance, okay, so at the right time, and if the ball is close enough, it needs to be close enough, right? And at the right frame, you need to press L and B, not just L and B on the same frame, but you need to like press. I think you need to press L and B on the right frame for when the ball is touching your back on the right frame. And then if you did it right, you'll go through the cage. And not only was it really hard back then, it wasn't even like that fast, dude. There was a needleless route. You got rid of Needle, Sea Needle, come back with a Cruise Bubble and Wheels, and in its place, it did Rock Bottom early when it saved less time, or when it's lost even more time than it does now. And you'd replace it with Larry Time Challenge Skip. Some stupid shit in fucking downtown. And, Goo Cage Clip. Like, it was just some evil-ass route. I think you might have also done Prawn early. It's hard to remember, to be honest. So yeah, then it changed to a lag clip, and we have not gone over lag clips whatsoever. Lag clips were only meta for a while, for a small while, and now because they're on hard drive, you can't even lag on hard drive anymore. Well, you can. Not here though. It's not notable here. So, how much you lag, like, people were, like, smudging their discs on purpose. Like, it can heavily depend on the disk drive, and then, like, you had to, like, learn fast mashing techniques because you mash the fuck out of start. Like, again, you have to lag the fuck out of the game and just, like, practice mashing techniques. Like, I'm horrible at mashing. I never once got these. And it's bad for your hands, too. Like what the fuck, bro? Anyway. Yeah, just, like, mash, and then, hopefully you clip through. Again, it can depend on disk drive, like the condition of your disk, whether it's really good condition or really bad condition. It's just like an actual fucking nightmare, horrible fucking trick. But it's about the same speed as before, and it was easier, you know? Even if it was still pretty AIDS. And now, well, there's 2 more versions, but we're not looking at one of them because it's very hard. So this is, like, the one that you do if you're not, like, insane god tier of the game. And this one is actually pretty easy. I don't think this movement is a thing anymore, so I think you can just ignore this, but... You stand at a specific part of this, but it's not that precise, and then you bowl. I think you do, like, a minimum shot bowl, or it might be, like, a time thing, like with a Goo Cage clip, I'm not sure, but either way, this is still, like, gonna be easier. And then you just, when the bowl, yeah, you just bash underneath the bowl. You can still fuck it up, you can still choke, but this is still... I think this is, the fastest one. Yeah, I think it's like a teeny bit faster than the other 2, and it's by far the easiest. Any beginner really should be doing this. And because of that, it can route out a spatula that you'd otherwise have to do, maybe kids or whatever, so... Yeah, it's pretty fucking easy, brev. Alright, I think we are... Yep, we're done with battle. 56 minutes in. So yeah. I talked about battle for 56 minutes. I hope you guys are proud of me. But now we're doing movie, and this will not take as long. So yeah, this video is gonna be like max an hour and a half, I think. I got nowhere near as much stuff. I mean, there's still a lot. Actually, I got like 2/3 of the amount of stuff. Anyway, I have notes for movie 2. Resets being faster equals more attempts more quickly. So, we don't allow hard drive, but you are allowed to use a modded Xbox still because it effectively has no real benefit, like no objective benefit really, technically. What using a modded Xbox allows you to do, you can do a quick reboot. So this game actually has a, actually no, that doesn't matter. Well, okay, so this game, unlike Battle, actually has a soft reset feature. If you hold start and select for 3 seconds, it actually reboots the game. We used to turn the console off and on, but this was already faster, so that was already like a quick way of rebooting that we discovered in 2020. The reason why we need to reboot, by the way, there's like 4 reasons why we need to reboot, but 2 of them are like crash related, so just, I guess just don't worry about it. When you get to sandwich driving onwards, every reset, you want to actually restart the console. Also, turning the console off and on is kind of bad for it anyway, TBH. And my capture card doesn't like it, so it's a good thing that we found this quick reset method after, before getting my capture card. So, yeah, so that's already some things. So even if you don't have a modded Xbox, it's already faster to reset them before, and better for your Xbox, and probably a disc too, instead of like abruptly turning it off. But now, if you have a modded Xbox, right, you can do like a quick boot. So, the default, you can make it basically anything, but the default is holding the triggers. Wait, no, wait, is it? Okay, it's hard to remember when I'm not here, like playing the game. I think you hold the white button and the black button. You know, those ones, or if you're using the 360 adapter like I am, then the left and right shoulder button maybe, and then you hold start and select and it just instantly resets instead of having to hold it for 3 seconds. I think it was something like that, or it might have been the triggers. I don't fucking remember to be TBH, but... And you can make it even faster, by the way, so it isn't just saving an additional 3 seconds, it's even faster, right? Because you can assign another thing for it to boot even faster, and I hold X. So it's booting even faster than an unmodded Xbox by a little bit. Only a little bit, but still. So yeah, and another thing I've done is I've opened up like 4 controllers and I snipped their rumble wires so that they can't rumble. So I don't have to spend about like 3 seconds turning off rumble every reset. It's fucking fantastic. So, and another thing as well, right? The first no cheese. Okay, so yeah, the first no cheese load of after every boot. Not every, but a lot of them are slow. I've just ignored that now. So instead of resetting every like 40-ish seconds, I now reset every like 20-something seconds. But that's my decision, you know. I decided it because most runs don't get past no cheese on the first try anyway because of truck skip. But yeah. Now another thing. So another note is Mindy skip. This only applies to Mindy skip categories. But Mindy skip is very easy. It's not worth showing really, but it's very easy tech that saves like over 18 minutes. It replaces 5 ring challenges, not much skill there to be honest. And then it removes Sandwich Macho, which no skill unless you're doing Sandwich out of bounds, but if it is removing a Sandwich out of bounds, that's actually like really big. Gesk Macho, same thing, you know, 1-frame jumps. Either it's just you don't really care, or it's removing some pretty hard stuff. It removes BBBH backwards, which has a couple hard things. It removes Depression Combat, which has quite a lot of RNG, and, you know, it's not too hard, but yeah, it's got quite a bit of RNG. Getting rid of it, you know, making the run a little less variable, you know, is good. And, right, it even removes Plank Sponge Ball, and I fucking hate Plank Sponge Ball, goddamn. Plank Sponge Ball is quite hard at any cycle, but especially the fast cycle I do. It's not, you know, it's easier than, like, guest jumps and stuff, but it's like, for being so standard and being not too different from, like, casual play, it's one that, like, again, not counting, like, strats, really, like, it's one of the harder tokens in the run. And it gets rid of those ones. Those are the most notable things it gets rid of. Also, you know, it allows you to do more substitute tokens. You know, the old route let you do, like, no... And BBBH backwards force you to do, like, a trick called BBBH slide jumps. And those were a bunch of 2-frame jumps over and over again for, like, a few seconds. Over, like, 10 seconds or something. Not 10. Probably, like, 7 or 8. But, yeah, There's, like, a rubber thing on the floor. I don't know what this is. Yeah, so where was I? So that, you know, more... Also, it's easier to get into because there's less things to learn. You have more time to even just, like, play. You know, it might be like, oh, well, now I have, like, 50 minutes to get a run going until I have to go out for work or whatever, as opposed to, like, 20 or whatever, or 30. You know? And the, you get to hard segments faster, like Natherman, SCDA, Gask. Having only 1 guest jumps is massive as well. Only 1 sandwich out of bounds is massive. The manly route is also better. Is less harsh. Yeah, you know, it's just easier to get into, more substitute stuff, like, more time you can put into, yeah, just things like that. But, of course, that doesn't, what I'm saying doesn't apply to non-Mindy skip categories. We also have practice mods, and ours are even more efficient than in battles, because they're more specific. There are some things in this game that are super inconvenient to practice because warping limitations and stuff, and some levels being pretty big. Latte and partially Sky have made a lot of, practice mods that are literally specifically made for one trick, and then you just add on to it to, like, the practice mod, just add another trick, and there's quite a few, and I'm sure more will come. So that just made practicing some things way more consistent. In particular, Spewer Boost and, like, guest jumps and not guest jumps, yes, I can't think right now, but... And there were, like, 2 strats I probably just wouldn't have even added because they're so horribly, like, painfully slow to practice otherwise. Including sandwich out of bounds, fast sandwich out of bounds. So yeah. And finally, and this one will take a while to explain, buffers. So in 2020, lag was found, and it's a bit hard to describe, but that's why we got this video. This is like a general thing, not every token. So token 2 frames, when you press start, the game advances 1 frame. If you walk into a token and press start, it's possible to collect the token without having to watch the animation. There's quite a few that it's not worth doing on, or like it doesn't unlock the next levels, there's no point, or whatever, you know. But there's also a lot that it does work on. No Cheese in particular being a 1 frame. And the hitboxes are very deceptive, very stupid, very cringe. I fucking hate these tokens. Here is what an old token frame look, but this, to be fair, this is a 1 frame. And this is even further away from the token, but watch this now. Like, what was the fucking visual cue, bro? Like, literally, what was the visual cue? But yeah, just press start, and then this saves like 8 to 8.5 seconds or something. Right? Wow, 211.0. My depression gold is only... Yeah, it's only like 2.6 seconds faster, and this run is from like December 2019, I think. That is fucking depressing. And my loads are probably a tiny... Actually, yeah, no, my loads are definitely a tiny bit faster too. Wow, that's fucking sad. And at this point, I had only practically just gone back into the game. God, that is so sad, dude. So yeah, that was like a 1 frame. But here is a buffered, right? We will get to 2 frames, but that one in particular was a 1 frame. So, that might have looked similar, but I lagged the game. So, it's not free, but it is easy. I'm not gonna act like it's not easy. So what you do, when you get close enough, you start, like, holding select to bring up the upgrade menu. It's like a feel-based thing, right? You can't just mash select and just get a ton of lag. So what we're doing is select start, and that lags the game a lot. But again, you want to, like, get a feel for it. So you want to, like, hold select for a little bit, and holding the buttons also seems to make it lag more for some reason. So you kind of, like, hold select for a little bit, then pause for a little bit. You know, I mean, don't touch anything for a bit. Just a little bit, just a feel-based amount. And then hold it again. And then, again, feel-based amount of time, then you press start. Buffers are a little hard to learn and get used to, especially on an original Xbox controller, because the start and select buttons are underneath the analog stick, which is the worst fucking place ever for them to be in a movie run. Imagine trying to 2-frame a token, walking into it, and, like, not slowing down, but also, like, holding the fucking controller forward, holding the stick forward, I mean, and then using your other hand to, like, reach over to your thumb over to the stop. Like, it's just a nightmare, you know? Buffers are pretty much, like, objectively easier on, like, other controllers. I do use a 360 controller, so, my name is Jeff. So you, buffer this. Again, it's a feel-based amount. It's not free, but it is easy. Also, how much the game lags can depend on your disk drive, if it's scratched or smudged, luck, how far into the music track you are, which is kind of stupid. Probably how long it's been on for, too, the game. I wouldn't be surprised if something like that is also the case. You know, just things like that. It'll never be 100% consistent, but it is pretty fucking consistent and easy. You do it for a lot of tokens. I can list off the tokens that it's traditionally done for. So, No Cheese, Depression Bounce, 3K Bungee, and 3K Flood and Block. So that's 4 tokens. I don't think I've missed any more, so we can just continue. Now That We're Men, Float and Block. Now That We're Men, Bungee. So that's 6. SCDA Cirque, that's 7. I've recently started buffering 3 meter, although that one is the hardest one because of a bunch of reasons, but it's still, like, easy enough to warrant doing. So That's 8. SCDA floating block, that's 9. Throwing through electric, that's 10. And plank ice skating, that's 11. That sounds wrong. I feel like it's not 11. It's gotta be more than 11, right? Do we buffer? I'm not gonna count it again. It's like at least 11. Also buffers, like, again, like, you can hold the buttons for a little less and have them not lose as much time, but they're so worth it. But put it like this, right? Unless we switch to hard drive where we can't lag anymore, these buffers will never not be done, because I calculated, right? And this isn't just the token buffers, this is a couple other buffers too. If I stop doing all of the buffers in a run... Okay, first of all, that made the run like 16 times harder. But second, even if I did get all of the cumulative time save, it would only save like 8 seconds throughout an entire no pause storage run. That is so fucking ignorable, it's not even funny. I'd rather do weenie out of bounds. If you don't know what that is, it's like the hardest thing ever, not RTA viable. I'd literally rather do weenie out of bounds. I think that would unironically be easier. Because otherwise, you know what it would turn into otherwise? Resetting to no cheese 1 frame over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I'd rather do weenie out of bounds, and that's just like 1 token. So yeah, that's those two, but here's another example. Here is a 1 frame damage buffer. You saw what a 1 frame was in battle. You know, when the animation ends, 60th of a second window, frame after it ends to press A and get essentially a triple jump type of thing. Yeah, we can buffer those too. So, this is floating block skip, you know, it is a little harder than a traditional 1 frame. In movie, goo actually damages you, which means that it's less efficient to practice 1 frames on goo. So, effectively, 1 frames are harder in movie, but if they're damage ones, because you can't practice as efficiently, but it doesn't even matter anymore, we buffer them. And you wouldn't do SpongeBob ones anyway. SpongeBob has like 7 different animations, I think, or 6, and 2 of them are actually different from each other. And Patrick has 3, and they're all different from each other, but they give you more time to react, so, you know, it's a bit, you know... in my opinion, Patrick ones are harder, but I could see why somebody would think that the SpongeBob ones are harder. So, not on the frame, but close to when the damage animation ends. Again... Oh, wait, no, this is the old one, sorry, my bad. This is unbuffered, so what Patrick one looks like... You also need good jump spacing and stuff. However, you can just do this. When it's close to ending, not too close, but when it's close to ending, and again, it's feel-based, and this one in particular is probably the hardest buffer to do on an OG controller. But yeah, select start, and then when you close... Okay, so when you're in the menu... This is another reason why it's harder than a token one. When you close out of the menu, so you're going to close the menu using B, and then you have 1 frame after that to press A. Oh, well, what's the point then? It's really easy to do B then A when you know you're going to do it, as opposed to waiting for Patrick's damage animation to end and then jumping, you know? So, yeah. Also, yeah, we can also buffer this. For the floating block pads, you want to cartwheel buffer them with Patrick. There's also a couple other ones you cartwheel buffer, but yeah, with Patrick, cartwheel buffering is pretty effective. Patrick's like hitbox is fucking massive with the cartwheel, upgraded cartwheel, so you can literally just like, you know. That one saves a lot in particular. It lets you reliably do a route called Now That I'm in Bungee Late. It technically adds a bit of difficulty, but it saves like 7 seconds, so it's definitely worth it, but not really without a buffer, or else, like, it can lose so much goddamn time otherwise. But, yeah, so it's more worth it. And Now That I'm in Bungee Late also gives you a more consistent bungee cycle, so it makes bungee easier. So, yeah. Now here's another example. So, this is an old... So, there was a route implemented by me called Floating Block Late. And it skips floating block challenges so that you can then 2-frame the tokens when you originally couldn't. It didn't apply to Now That I'm in floating block, the one that I showed you just a second ago, but it does apply to this one in SCDA. And it was really hard, because watch this. Like, that was so risky. It did work. Now, this is what I meant by 2 frames, by the way, 2-frame windows. This time, the token counter did not count up, but it still worked. When I load in, you can see it says 11, but you don't know if you got it until after the load, so while they're twice as easy, they're also extremely risky. So, yeah, like, I'm surprised that even worked and that I went for it, to be honest. And you can tell I stood still for a second, just, like, you know. That's another thing as well. Buffers don't even, like, lose time, really, in the sense of, like, 99% of players would slow down an inch to a token, whereas now you can just run into it, like, almost full speed. Even slow down a little bit, you'll still do it faster than before. Like, so unbuffered would only save time if we did them in a way that's harder than we've ever done them before. Like, no, we're not doing that. Oh, I guess I didn't show well, I already showed the other one, I guess, so I guess that's why I didn't pull another one up, but... Yeah. I also, there's another 1-frame damage boost, by the way, that we buffer in BBBH. It's, also, float and block skip has technically gone easier in the sense that, well, debatable. First try, it used to save over a minute, but now, because of a easier alternate strat, now it only saves like 30-something. So you can go longer without adding it and have it be more justifiable. That's another thing about it. Also, there's another place we could do the buffer, and that one, even if you fuck it up, it loses less time, a lot less time. And buffers give you more height for some reason, which makes a ledge grab skip in Disco go from nearly never happening to happening like half the time. And if you get that ledge grab with the buffer, it saves time compared to no ledge grab, no buffer, and you like nearly never get that, so yeah. Now here's also buffer again, like if you're forced into a token and do a quick buffer, it's like 1/4 of a second to 1/3 of a second, that's how much it loses. And assuming like your disk drive like reacts well to it. The cartwheel ones, if done super quickly, is like half a second, but the way that I do them in the float and block challenge is probably more like 0.8 a second. It's probably not a second, it's probably like 0.7, 0.8. There are also some buffers where you jump on top of them, but those are really rare. I don't really do those anyway, but those ones lose like over a second. I refuse to do it for Chocolate Creek, so instead of getting out of Creek like most of the time, I now get out of there like fucking 15% of the time because I want to save a fucking second. I hate myself. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway. Okay, so here's, sandwich out of bounds, right? Also, this video is gonna be longer than I thought. Sandwich out of bounds. So this area went from free to actually pretty hard. Let me check which side of the game played out. Okay, so it's the left side. So look at the left side. Don't look at the right side just yet. Look at the left side. So you can't see it in this comparison, but I grabbed a checkpoint and now I'm driving back. You have no idea how often I would miss that fucking checkpoint just barely from trying to be optimal. God, I hated that so much, but that's not even the bad part in comparison. This is the fucking bad part, bro, right? So you gotta turn around, and then you bash into this fucking dirt pile, hopefully get a good bounce, land on this, and then because of an invisible wall, you gotta fucking do this. Are you looking at this, right? And then, because of, like, 2 other massive invisible walls, you gotta be really careful reversing and nitroing back out. This saves a lot. I forget, it's like 10 to 11 seconds, right? This nearly killed the game, and I really do mean that, right? Because in no pause storage, you have 2 opportunities to do it, so it's like, okay, so it's like 20 to 22 seconds if done perfectly, right? You would never get this first fucking try. It would, like, never work, right? This bounce is so inconsistent. It was so fucking bad. I had no consistency, right? Okay, yeah, sure. You had a bunch of tries until it didn't save anything, and even breaking even compared to not doing it was completely fine. But just 1 PB with this trick, and just, dude. On average, you'd save like 4 seconds from it. So in Frogfish, you get a bad one, instant reset, just instantly. And again, like, you want to know how bad this is, right? I think it was in all tokens. I did get 3 out of 3 in that category for this trick, and I did not save 33 seconds. I saved like 24, and I was still absolutely fucking shitting myself because that was so much time saved, like, compared to what you normally get. Normally, I wouldn't even go for the third time, but I think the run was bad, so I think that's why I did it. Normally, you save like 6, and then like 2, and then like you don't risk it after that. Like, but that time I saved a lot more. I think the first one was perfect, then the second was like 8 seconds or something, and yeah. Anyway. Yeah, this would nearly never work, this bounce, and then you have to be careful with this, maneuvering. And then there were so many times where I got caught in the invisible wall. I really do mean it when I say this nearly killed the fucking game. Doing it twice was so goddamn evil, dude. In a couple categories, you only do it once, but those are not the most popular categories. The most popular category is no polar storage, and in no polar storage, you do it fucking twice. Now, look at the right side gameplay. Also, there are like 2 more really hard sandwich out of bounds things, but I'm not showing them because they have never been done RTA, like, in a run, so... Alright, now look at the right side. This is Bulldozer. So you grab the checkpoint as the same as before, but watch this, right? Now, this comparison video is bad because this was, like, when the trick just existed, but you get the gist, right? So, you use, like, the yellow lines as a visual cue, kind of-ish, and the dirt. You turn around, and then you nitro, and then you land on top of the bulldozer, and then you hold, like, a hard, like, upright. And then hopefully you get through. Again, that was a bad comparison. So this method is way easier. Now, don't get me wrong, it needs a nitro. If for missing it once, okay, so this loses, you can back it up. You have like one more chance to do it. Getting a second try is probably the equivalent of getting the bounce like second try or maybe third try potentially. Maybe like, 2.5, try or whatever. But this is so much easier that it was worth it. And it's still hard. This trick is... But it's 100% consistent. It was hard, but it's 100% consistent. And again, I'd miss a checkpoint all the time. And this saves like 1 to 2 seconds. And it's a lot easier to play close to your gold. Oh, it was also harder to practice because of nitros, and then if you ran out of nitros, you need to reload, but it was still, even in spite of that, it was still so much easier that anybody who was doing fence would just instantly jump to this instead. Like, just no thought about it, just fucking instantly switch. Because why the fuck would you not do that? God damn. Oh, also, I also do some buffers and rock slide, to skip some 1-frames. The easier the 1-frame damage boosts. But yeah, like, there's 2 of them, and if you miss the second one in particular, it loses a lot, so you might as well just buffer. Those damage animation buffers and the rock slide ones lose, like, just under a second if done well, so yeah, it's just, again, it's like 8-9 seconds throughout the whole run, But anyway, yeah, and if that, okay, so... The funny thing about that, too, is that there's an even faster sandwich out of bounds, but it's not being included because it's the hardest one. It's technically easier than Fence, probably. Okay, so it's a lot harder than Fence, but that's because Fence has little skill to it and is practically lottery, almost. This, if you grinded it for 1,000 hours, I seriously do not think you'd be any more than, like, 15 to 20% more consistent at it than somebody else, and that's still, like, pretty inconsistent. If we're counting first try, that trick would work, like, 15% of the time, so increasing your chances from 15 to, like... 30, 35, not exactly amazing. Whereas with this, like, it's so much better, dude. Even on bad days, I'd still get it, like, half the time. But on good days, I was getting the trick, like, 80% of the time. But now, I've grinded the new sandwich out of bounds a lot more, and I get it, like, on bad days, like, 30, 40% of the time. On good days, like, 70% of the time. But it saves, like, 4.5 seconds to 5 seconds each if done perfectly, so... yeah. Although, if you want to learn sandwich out of bounds, absolutely would recommend Bulldozer, the gameplay on the right that you saw. There's even, like, there's, like, an easy-ish setup with it. The Sky does. It loses a couple seconds, but it's, like, quite a bit easier than the way that I was doing it. But, Anyway... This is technically a bit cheating to put this here because it didn't exist when Steam Daily existed. But it was like this, like, it's to do with SpongeBob's positioning again. This trick is surprisingly hard. But you set yourself up, and let's just assume that you set it up really fast, right? And then you die. And yeah, you just do that. I think it saves like 4-ish, like 3 to 4 seconds. You can't do it with Steam Daily. I can't be asked to explain why, but you can't do it with it, and that thing is harder than the entirety of Steam Daily and Bouncer, so you would never ever do this, ever. So I just wanted to point that out. Now, here's Patrick, now that we're men. And I'm kicking myself a little bit because I realized recently this was actually worth doing before, but now it's not because of a different strat, and I didn't think about it until recently. So look at the left side gameplay. Well, so normally we'd go to floating block, then you warp to Bungee, then you'd warp to the second task, and then you just walk to the end level token. With this, again, look at the left side, you switch to Patrick, right? You, like, avoid a trigger. I don't think this comparison shows that, but yeah, you avoid a trigger. And then, this is a little hard, but you cartwheel off the edge. Again, it's hard, and it's all or nothing. If you miss this, the run is basically over because of how much time you'd lose. Also, you grab the floating block warp by walking to the token, by the way. So yeah, Patrick's drowning, he respawns, and then, because you skip the checkpoints, you go back here, and then you do double 1-frame Chris skip, and then you 2-frame the token when you normally don't. Look at the right side gameplay now. You don't need to do that, like, normally, because there's nowhere good to warp from, but this would have added a token frame. And then a bit of menuing, and I believe, how much did this save? Okay, so it's like 6 seconds. If you didn't, okay, so, although if you did it absolutely balls to the walls, like, as fast as possible, probably like 6.5. I realized that we actually could have done this. This was timed back when Patrick buffers, like, 1-frame buffers. They looked a lot slower than they are. They're just under a second each, and even the jump token buffer would be just over a second, so the buffers would have only lost about 3 seconds, so they still would have saved time. Granted, I don't know if it'd be necessarily worth it, but it would have saved time and would have been maybe viable. Although, again, a bitch to practice, for sure. However, it doesn't even matter now, because there is a faster strat that, in my opinion, would be easier than this, especially if we're counting the 1-frames, non-buffered. This is Quick Chris, and Quick Chris is still hard. I still only get it like 6% of the time, and I've practiced it quite a few hundred times. But this lets you skip the token animation. So, here's Chris Skip first, because Chris Skip is part of this. Chris Skip is, like, the easiest trick in the run that you pretty much, like, have to do. However, we are purposely making it harder. So, normally you don't spin here, but I'm spinning here to give myself more speed because I need more speed. And more speed makes Chris Skip harder. So now the difficulty of the trick has gone from 2 out of 10 to like 4 or 5 out of 10, which in comparison is a pretty significant jump. So, and also you can make it this even harder, but we'll get to that. So, yeah, so now I have the speed necessary, and now I can ledge grab this. Now this is hard. You descend for a while. It's feel-based, and it's angle-dependent and all that, but after dropping for a bit, you start like, flick and then, well, like, hold, like, left-ish, like, maybe a tiny bit up, like, a tiny bit, but mostly left, and then, like, hold B, and then, there's a bit of leniency, but if you do it right, then that will happen. You can get it a little bit slower than that, a little bit faster, you know, it's just a little bit of variance. You can skip the ledge grab here, and it aids, also a side benefit of this, sometimes when you respawn here, the game flashes white, and it's really cringe and annoying and distracting. For some reason, if you successfully get Chris, well, we call it Quick Chris. If you successfully get Quick Chris, for some reason, it just, like, never happens, which would make doing faster monster skip setups more viable, but that's more like a theory thing, you know? But if I held back even less, that actually makes this trick, like, really, really hard. But if I didn't hold back as much, I could have potentially skipped the thing. One thing as well that ledge grabbing also lets you do is just take more time to set the camera up, more time to think, you know. So it isn't just about, like, the speed, it's also just about, like, being able to get a more normalized camera setup. That setup, yeah, so this saves, though, even with the ledge grab, saves about 4.5, and the other method with Patrick, with the buffers, would save, like, 3 seconds in theory. And again, there's like 2 ways in which the run just insta-dies if you miss it. Granted, and there's a lot of ways you can miss this, but a couple of them are like pretty alright. There's only one that's like really bad, and even then it's still not as bad as the Patrick one, so I think this is probably worth it compared to the Patrick one, even with buffers, because of how much easier it is to practice, and you know, it's just like one and done, as opposed to like setting up the whole area for it, you know what I mean? Also, this, actually, wait, no, I was about to lie. Never mind. No lying in the classroom. Well, actually... Wait, no, never mind. I don't want to mix... I don't want to confuse myself or you. But mostly myself. Alright, this one will be super quick, because it's... Well, okay, so... Old Strat, it's a little bit feel-based, but it's not hard. You literally just, like, turn around the corner while nitroing, like, hold, like, hard left, and then you'll, like, hop over this. Because we thought to save time. Okay, I don't know why I'm showing this. I guess, I don't know, I put it in the notepad, so I guess I'll show it. Yeah, we found out it's faster to just go around. Cole used to just do things that he felt like was fast. And he thought that was fast. There was also bad nitro management here, so that was also another reason why, you know. But that is, like, optimal nitro management. Yeah, there isn't much I can say. This is, like, 2 seconds faster, and even though the fence hop is easy, this is inarguably easier. So, yeah. Alright, so here's lamp jump and Gask. Both the faucet and target route in Gask have changed. The faucet route is not really notable. It has technically gotten easier, because if you wanted to do the old one as fast as possible, you do like a 1-frame turnaround thing. You don't need it at all, but it'd save like a second. Now you don't even need that, but this is the main thing. You do a completely different target order, but that's not the new target order is technically harder until it gets to this. There is a Krabby Patty with like a fuck ton. Why did I say a fuck ton? Like a massive hitbox, basically. A massive range. So you need to cut the corner quite well. Otherwise, you lose like 3 seconds. So the target route saves like 1 second. But then if you get that, then it's losing like 2 seconds. And it loses some manlies, but that's not a big deal. Actually, no. If you... No, never mind. Never mind about the manly thing. But yeah, if you... So let's say you've just done them both perfectly. With the old one... Again, it loses like a second compared to a good lamp jump, by the way. But this is what it would look like. And that was a really fast lamp jump. So you slow the fuck down, right? You slow the fuck down, and then double jump to the lamp. Compared to not doing it, it saves like 10 seconds. But the new target route, just you don't even get the option to do it. So because you don't even have the option to do it, and all you're doing instead of this is cutting a corner good so you don't have to touch a Krabby Patty, the new one is objectively easier. And this was a bitch to practice as well. To the point where nobody would practice it. Now, here is a 1-frame strat. This has never really... Well, not never. It's been done in a world record, like old world records a couple times. This is hard to explain. When you reach, like, around this point... Let me see if I can... No, okay, you don't need to... The strat, part of the strat is not fading in. Like, that's not, you know... So you slide around this, and then you get a check... You can't see what the checkpoint is, but you get, like, an invisible checkpoint here. Then you start doing 1-frame jumps backwards, and then... Right? With a really good angle, really good jump spacing, and good speed, it is possible to just barely, and I really do mean barely, grab this extra, right? And it's really fucking hard and requires immediate 1-frames. If you miss it and then drown, you can back it up by doing it like this to make it easier, but it's still horrible because, if anything, it's partial. It's, in a way, it's almost worse because now you have even less speed. So now it's even harder other than the 1 frames. But this saves a lot. I don't know how much it saves, I can't remember, but yeah, this saves a lot. Right? And I've never done it in a world record. And unfortunately in all extras, this would still be theoretically fast. However, right? In 100%, this is now no longer a thing. Because of a faster and easier strat. It's specifically in 100%. No other, not all extras or early powers, all extras, just 100%. So, there is a thing in this game called magnetic pickup, right? There are 42 extras in the game, and some of them have things you can do with them. Changing the paddy wagon horn, giving you a new costume. None of them are useful, except for one. The 39th extra, magnetic pickup. So you have to have already beaten Knucklehead at this point, but yeah, so this doesn't save as much as it looks technically, because you have to like do a slightly unoptimal route or whatever, but it only loses like a couple seconds, or at most a couple seconds. So with magnetic pickup, so what it does, it magnetizes things to you, so it gives you a much bigger range. So manliness points come to you much more easily, right? Nitros do in sandwich levels. However, the only place where we are able to take advantage of that is Knucklehead Macho and the entirety of Weenie 2, and extras. And there are 2 places in which we are able to use this for a big time save, saves. I think they collectively save like 40-something. This one saves even more, but the other one doesn't really remove difficulty because it was easy anyway, so we're not looking at that one, we're looking at this one. This one is hard. Compared to not doing the 1 frame strats, it's hard, but it's still, compared to doing the 1 frames, it's easier. Because this is precise. I needed a practice mod for this. Because, again, this is one of those ones where it's an absolute fucking nightmare to practice. Although, luckily, if you do miss it, you can try again in Macho Time Challenge. You have 2 opportunities to do this. And even if you miss it in Macho, you just kill yourself and try again. And then it, like, breaks even-ish with... Although... Then, the problem with that, then, is that if you didn't get really good guess jumps, then you'll have to restart the entire challenge. You know, because the time challenge is, like, really tight, otherwise it's, like, a minute 50. So, you need to have had really good guess jumps, and then you can afford to miss this in Macho. But I've never had that scenario before, put it like that. So, it's extremely unlikely. So, yeah, So again, a much bigger range, but still hard, so look at this. I could have done that a little more optimally, but yeah, that's essentially it, right? Again, with the practice mod, I was able to get it down consistently after a few hundred attempts, like 300 attempts. So you go out a bit, you know, coyote frames have really good jumping, and then you want to turn, like, almost, like, sooner than you think, because, again, like, it's hard to comprehend how big the magnetization is until you get a feel for it, and then you double jump back onto the thing. If you do miss it, though, again, then it just, like, roughly breaks even with just not doing it at all, and it's not the end of the world. But if you're going up against a PB that got this, yeah, missing this is fucking devastating. But yeah, you can't do this in all extras, because, again, you need to get to Knucklehead, and by that point, your only objective then is to just kill Neptune, you know what I mean? Alright, we're getting very close to the end. XD boost. So we used to grab the Sponge Bowl warp here on the first trip to SCDA, but then we realized it was faster to grab it after guitar. So XD boost, it requires bashing off of these spinners and getting to the other side, and with good RNG, keep a note of that, with really good RNG and a good attempt of it, like good angle and stuff, I think compared to what we were doing back in the day, it saves like 3 to 4 seconds. But compared to now, it saves, like, hardly anything, but yeah. Also, one massive, massive problem with this trick, in fact, I never even did it in my runs, at least at this point when everybody started doing it. These spinners spawn very early in, the level. They spawn in, like, almost immediately, right? But you're doing guitar the entire time. As a matter of fact, right? You can't even... Sometimes you can predict the RNG from here. But sometimes... Okay, so... The spinners can walk in almost this entire circle. They can spawn anywhere in the circle, pretty much, and can walk anywhere in the circle, pretty much. They have no pattern that they walk in. They literally just walk anywhere they want, whenever they want, with no rhyme or reason to it. The only thing they can't do is walk out of their range that they've been set in, but their range is pretty much the entire circle. As you can see with this spinner here, right? So Chris got absolutely abysmal XD boost RNG. You can't do anything with this. And the spinner was more like here, so there was a chance he could have walked back by the time he got here, but nope, it went over here, so he got fucked, basically. We know these days to not even bother if it's anywhere near here, but yeah, like... Well, yeah, see, look. You cannot make this angle work, pretty much. Like, this is fucked. And you can see Chris is trying, and then he gets a bad angle and dies. So, this trick that's supposed to save 4 seconds... Not only did it take so long to set up that even if he did get it, it would have, like, broken even, or potentially even lost a tiny bit. He didn't get it. He didn't make it over. So he has to do it again. And the second time he gets good RNG. But again, even if you get good RNG, it's still hard. Because you need a good angle and stuff, and... Yeah, he gets it, and he gets a good angle, but again, it's harder than it looks. So, yeah, it's fucking really stupid, and I'm glad I never did it in my runs. Chris's run was good for the time, you know. He PB'd by, he got world record by like a minute 40 or something, but like this, dude, this is such a stain on the run. It would have been so much better, dude. It literally would have been like 1:30, like 45 or something. Like, it would have been so much faster. Oh, yeah, 1:32:52, actually, yeah. And now, then it changed to this. Although, this example's from SCDA 1, but it'd be like, so after guitar, you'd switch to Patrick and then come over here. You throw the melon, and you can either do 2 melon or 1 melon. But yeah, so, XD boost got obsoleted basically by Patrick 1 melon. Because, compared to, like, average XD boost RNG, this was, like, breaking even and was way easier. However, RNG was still getting in the way, partially. And you grab the wall by doing, But anyway, and if this were done in SCDA 2, you just go to Spongeball now. But now, here's what we do. You can actually do this on every version as well. You cannot do this in no pulse. This can only be done after guitar. It's only fast after guitar. Because you need guitar to do this. But this completely obsoletes RNG, and it's almost, like, unless you're gonna get a really, really good XD boost, like, this is faster than most XD boosts. And it's really easy. Watch this now. That was, like, a super jump type of thing. So, it's easier than normal, like, lag stuff. It's not so harsh on, like, holding select or whatever. It's still, like, a tiny bit of that, but not as bad as, like, the other ones. And then, as soon as you're done pressing Y, and, as soon as you're done pressing select the second time, you just hold Y and R. And, if your input gets eaten, you just press Y to, like, uneat the bash input, and then you just do the inputs again. It's not that big a deal. But even if you get really bad RNG, you can literally just spin one of the spinners away, and then you only lose a few frames, and then you do this jump. And they just walk over to the thing. Barely any slower than a really good XD boost. Now we just always do this in this category. And hundo, all extras, stuff like that. All tokens, I mean. So, BBBH backwards, this is in all world tokens, most no major glitches routes, and, Wait, yeah, all tokens, most of the major glitches routes, and all world tokens. Most all world tokens routes. So there's also a thing called electric bash. You just bash off of it. I do that now, and that did exist at the time, but we thought it saved less back then, so I wasn't doing it, and it is still kind of risky sometimes. So yeah, you just spin over here. These guys can get in the way, but it's usually like fine. And then this wasn't very hard, but it's still like not the easiest thing in the universe. You know, just double jump spin. Again, it's not free, but it's not like hard or anything. But you know, yeah, I've lost a couple runs there. I don't have an alternate video, but you literally just walk. You see my cursor? You walk this way. You jump on this thing, and then you jump down, and then you guitar the button from here. The spinner down there cannot hit you when you're on the edge. Not only is that fucking faster, it's objectively easier because there's no fucking slammers in the way. Alright, playing Topless, boys. So this thing is weird. So what I'm first going to show you is a clip-in that has no consistency to it whatsoever, but it's free as fuck. In the sense that there is no skill to it. There's literally no skill to it. And the other one is going to clip you out 100% of the time, but it's hard. So, here's this one. I actually got a really good clip. But as you can see, you literally just, like, go in between... don't be cringe now, bro. There we go. Yeah, you literally just hope. You just walk into it and just keep holding a direction and just hope that you pop out. The longest it's ever taken me is, like, 20 seconds. The average is probably, like, 5-6 seconds. Or it could be nearly instant. It can be instant. And if it is instant, it's like a tiny bit faster than the one that I do now. Yeah, so that's the old one. I don't do it anymore. God, my gameplay looks so much better now, dude. Dude, it takes up more of the screen, so it's stretching more pixels, and it still looks way better. That's sad. But here's the new strat, right? You drop down here, works 100% of the time. But the problem is that it, like, glitches out a bit. This shit is hard. My tip is that you jump sooner than you think you need to. But it is really tricky, and sometimes it still feels kind of bullshit. You don't want to hold, like... If SpongeBob is, like, facing this corner, sometimes you can get stuck and the hand grabs him. I think sometimes it could just happen anyway. I still would consider this better, though, because it's, you know, because the clip-in is just 100% consistent. Sometimes you need to spin here, sometimes you don't, but yeah, it's just hard to explain. But if you get to the intermediate level, that's when I'd probably start recommending this trick. Because that's when you're going to start caring about, like, losing seconds to the clip-in not working properly, you know, that type of thing. But for beginners, I would definitely recommend just, like, doing the old one. Okay. So, this is a plank damage boost. So look at the right side gameplay. The trick is pretty hard relative to its time save. I used to lose time to it all the time. I had to brute force until it finally worked consistently, like, weeks later. It's so AIDS. So you gotta avoid these moves. You know, your movement can't be too bad or anything. You can't get hit by these missiles or else it fucks up the whole thing. You, like, yeah, and you wanna, like, move the stick back, but not too aggressively. So you almost wanna, like, turn it, but, like, you know, dead zones and shit can make it hard. And then you want to have it, like, give you, like, slide properties, like a lot of the tricks in battle, and then you, like, double jump out of it. Now look at the left side gameplay. You bash instead, and this is just objectively easier. They break even, too. So this isn't, like, free. You walk a little, you know, it's, like, a little more specific, because otherwise you can get a bad angle, get thrown to the left, get thrown to the right. You're more likely to get thrown in the bad direction compared to the old one, compared to the gameplay on the right, but it is just easier. You just hold back, and like, you bash and then just hold back, and as long as you're standing at roughly the right spot, it'll, like, about break even. Quite a bit easier. Alright, now here's a big one, right? You don't really need to look at the left side gameplay. Look at the right side gameplay. So, we would clip through like this. So if you press R, SpongeBob will try to begin guitaring, like, only a tiny bit after you see that happened. You do select, it's field-based, and then you can clip through. And then we start I think it was like 6 or 7 wall jumps or something, I can't remember. And then you glide your ass over here, that part's easy. Then you walk across. Then you try to not die in this lava. I did die here on one run, but it's easy. And then you do an R plus A jump. Now this is actually a little difficult. Okay, so when SpongeBob is ceiling swimming, you know, he's bobbing up, down, up, down, up, down. When he, like, begins descending from, like, a peak jump, like, when he begins descending, that's when, again, it's field-based. You do select, and then at the end of it, like, after the select inputs, you hold R and A. And if done correctly, you will clip through. This skips this cutscene, by the way, that's on the left side gameplay. That's most of the reason why I saved so much. And then, you do a double jump to these wall jumps, and you can barely make it. And then you can clip through. And then this is just like this is a trick that's already done in runs, guitar glide. So, yeah. And it saves, like, 11 seconds or something. So this double jump is horrible. Now, I only did this a few hundred times when it was a thing. It was a thing for like 2 days, spoilers. Or like a day even. Like, I think less than 48 hours, so probably like a day and a half. This is so fucking precise. I was only able to get it after all my attempts like a fifth of the time. And if you miss it, you spawn right back to the beginning of the area. The run's instantly over, and this is very late in. And this can apply to quite a few categories as well, but not all of them. So it's like you don't even get to practice it effectively in like all categories. Like, it's AIDS, dude. As you can see, I spliced it. I spliced it in that clip. I couldn't get it in one go. I did get 1 gold with it, I will say. 1 good gold with the trick. So the reason why you have to do that, the reason why you can't spin, is because if you spin and then clip out without landing on the ground first, SpongeBob will go flying and you won't be able to, okay, so this, how I'm like, using spin to guide him. The way that this game works, it has spin stalling like battle. So you spin, and then you spin, SpongeBob slows down for a little bit, and then every other spin in midair after that, it doesn't control the speed at all. This is controlling his speed, because the game still thinks you're doing your first spin. However, if I did a spin in midair there, then SpongeBob would just get thrown to the left side of the screen, and you wouldn't be able to control him. And the jump was really... Well, yeah, the jump is really precise, and even just clipping out of bounds, getting back in was a tiny bit tough. Tiny bit. And yeah, it was absolutely horrible. It was so bad. And it got obsoleted so fast, I've never been so thankful. This shit's probably even worse than fence jump, dude. Like, it was so bad. Or, like, fence out of bounds, or whatever you want to call it. Now we can look at the new one, right? So instead you wall jump all the way up here, and then do it, and then... and then after a bunch of wall jumps, then you wall jump forward, and then do the inputs. And it is a little bit field-based, but you want to spin later than that to get more height. I didn't do that in this. And then if you have good height, it's about having good wall jump height, and having good, spinning at the right time. But then eventually you'll land here. And then you just do an R plus A jump, and then you jump to the side, and then you can make it back. Inbounds, and this saves, like, a couple seconds more. And this is a little hard, and I've lost quite a few runs to this. This loses even more than the other one. However... So with this out of bounds, I wall jumped 8 times, and that can work. if you wall jump 10 times, you'll basically always have enough height, and I basically just always do 10 now. Unless the run is, like, really bad, or, like, you know, on the cusp of missing world record, then, like, I really need it. Also, this trick is only done in, no pulse storage, early powers, but it wouldn't save as much there. And I think that's it, actually. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, no, you could do an all-world tokens as well, but what? Actually, yeah, no, you could do an all-world tokens. Anyway. Yeah, so instead of doing 8 like I did, literally do 10. But yeah, it's about, like, wall jump height and, like, you know... And then you want to spin later than I did. You want to spin, like, half a second to a second later. But yeah. Also, yeah, so, and if you do that, it saves, like, about the same amount, maybe a tiny bit less compared to the strat I showed you a minute ago, and it's infinitely easier. So, yeah. Also, the old, if you look at the standard gameplay, like, this clip, at least in this category and a couple others, is just, you'll never need to do it anymore. Plank out of bounds is only a little harder. We call it sponge glide. It's only a little harder, and it saves, like, 10 to 13 seconds on it. Like, you basically, like, there's no fucking reason not to go for it. And finally, we have a pretty recent thing. I don't have, like, an old gameplay thing, but basically, you could hit Neptune faster than what we were originally doing. So look at the left side gameplay. You just walk forward a little bit, and then, you know, you guitar him and get a feel for it. Then, we found, this didn't work on Phase 3, it only worked on Phase 1 and 2. If you stood as close to Neptune as possible, without him hitting you back, you could just spam R, and then you wouldn't have to, like, walk or travel at all, like, and it did save quite a bit of time, right? So, there was that. I'm trying to think. And it was so bad, because, again, like, if you're not right next to him, you can't just spam guitar and you'll lose time. If you get too close to him, he'll deflect you and then restart his attack. It runs instantly dead. Then we found another strat where you stand in front of Mr. Krabs' statue, like this one, but it was different. And you would, just before Neptune shot you, you time a jump so that Neptune tries to shoot you but shoots the statue. That saved walking, and you didn't have to guitar as much forward. Like, that was quite fast. And it was a lot easier than the other thing, but it saved about the same amount. But it was still fucking stupid, and this is the easiest form of it now, right? Even though it's still kind of stupid. And it's not really worth doing on Phase 1, but yeah. Also, this saves, like, roughly 0.4 each time you do it, I think. But yeah, so the Q, when Neptune goes into first person, spam spin 4 times. Also, you need a good angle and standing, like, around the right part of the statue, by the way. So I spun, like, 4 times. The shot pierces through SpongeBob because I'm in the middle of a spin. The very beginning of a spin or the very end of a spin, I don't think work. Sometimes it also doesn't hurt SpongeBob for some reason. It's also distracting. SpongeBob's scream makes it hard to, like, figure out, like, when to skip the cutscene as soon as possible. You know what I mean? But yeah, and then you are closer to him, and then you could just guitar faster. So yeah, even if you just do it for the full hits, that's saving 1.2 seconds, dude. That's a lot of time. Like, it's pretty nutty. It is hard, and I've had issues with it, and I have yet to go with it, but I do strongly think it'll be worth it. Obviously, it's harder than the old strat, but it's harder than the strats that never got implemented. Because even though they were never implemented, I'm still counting them because I would have done them in cheap percent, probably. This I want to do anyway, let alone in cheap percent. And yeah, that's it. That's everything. Again, there were a couple things, like old monster skip setups, or old, like, one-frame oil skip setups, or whatever, you know. Oh, also, actually, there was one more thing, but I don't have video of it. Way back in the day, I'm talking, like, 2017, I think, there was, like, this rooftop strat. You had to jump on, like, this weird part of collision or something, and it had, like, no consistency. But if you did it saved, like, 2-3 seconds. It was all or nothing. Run died if you missed it. It was implemented in the world record route. I don't even know if a PB was ever gone with it. It got dropped very fucking quickly. But that does exist, and it would be not fast now probably. They skipped like half of downtown. They probably skipped the part where you do it anyway, and even then, it's probably a forgotten relic. I don't remember where in downtown it was, and I think it saved like 2 or 3. But yeah, it's just like whatever, you know. There's also, again, battle routing has changed a lot. I probably could mention some other things, but I don't, I also could mention 100% more, especially in battle, but I don't know what I'm doing with that category, you know what I mean? Like, I'm just sticking to what I know. But I think this would probably be my best video yet, so hopefully you enjoyed this. I enjoyed making it. I just realized the desktop audio is mute, which means, yeah, okay, to be fair, it's only been a few minutes. Okay, that's good. Alright, thank you very much for watching. I really enjoyed making this, and I'll see you in the next video. I have 10 videos planned that, I might only make like 2 or 3 of them, for example, but, I think I'm gonna make like 3 or 4 videos. Like, I've asked some people, and they said, like, they would like those video ideas. Anyway, goodbye.